Hey there, everyone. My name is Crayle. I'm one half of Phoenix Sisters Cosplay. I'm here with Ryan from Nerd Culture, who we'll bring in a second. And this is our very first pilot episode of Comic Books, The New Class. So I'm going to be debuting for the very first time ever our preview music, if I can find it. Bear with me. Here we go.
I hate those comic books. They never get the eyes right.
Iron Man, that's kind of catchy. It's got a nice ring to it.
Spider-Man?
Superman.
Superman?
All right, I am back and I'm bringing in my co-host right now. Ryan, say hi to all the lovely people.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. I am so happy to be here. It's a new year, new seasons, new everything. And we got a new show, and I'm excited to be a part of it because we're going to talk about something that everybody should get a chance to read, and that is something known as comic books. So I am uber excited. We're going to share some of our picks. We're going to hear from you in the comments. We're going to be chiming in with some advice we may give to some new up-and-coming readers out there, whether you're 5 or 105. We're going to give it all to you, and it's going to be so much fun. You're not going to want to know what to do with yourself. So the best thing you can do is hashtag support your local comic shop and hear us jibber jabber, because we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. But if you have any questions for us, anything at all, anything that's on your mind, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. That's what Crayle, myself, and everyone else here in the studio lives for. So yeah, Crayle, let's get right into this thing. You got your drink, you got your energy source. I'm already built in with 10,000 volts of electricity courses in my veins. So how would you like to start this thing?
I guess I'm just going to start by talking about how I first got into comic books. So when I was a kid, like a small kid, I was into nerdy content forever, like high fantasy, like 80s novels, cartoons based on comic books, specifically X-Men. That was like the big thing for me. But one, I didn't really have any family members who were into comic books, and two, I read so fast that I think my family members were kind of like, we don't really want to spend money in 5 minutes, because they didn't know how rereadable comic books really are, you know? So as a kid, I didn't get into them at all. And so I did my whole comic book experience a little backwards. When I was 21 or 22, back in like 2013, I can't do math. Hashtag no math. I wanted to start cosplaying with my friends who just like really love cosplaying. My friends Mark and Ruby, who might rewatch this later. And so I wanted to know which characters I should cosplay. And my friend Mark, who knows me really well, was like, you would absolutely love these characters. You can take my word for it. But by the way, here's the comic books. You can read those too, just so you know what you're doing. And so I started cosplaying. And then I started reading comic books. So I cosplayed Wonder Girl and Liberty Bell really early on, and read some Wonder Woman comics and some Justice Society of America comics. And that's my origin story. Really quick, before Ryan tells us his origin story, we want to say hi to our friends at the back of the cereal box and Saturday Morning Comics. Hashtag no math.
That's true. That's it. Yeah, that's true, because I don't do math very well either. Math and I never got along as children, and we never were going to get along as adults, so that's not happening. But my origin story, because every journey has a first step. Every saga has a beginning, if you remember the marketing campaign that I'm talking about. But still, so for me, somewhat similar to Crayle over here, I grew up watching the television series, whether it's X-Men, whether it's Spider-Man, whether it's other properties that were maybe known or not well known back in the day on something known as Fox Kids, when Fox Kids was alive and had a brain. And then there was Nickelodeon, there was Kids WB, there was Cartoon Network, there was all these different networks that showcased different characters, right? So I grew up on that, but I didn't start, and my brother, I have 2 older brothers, so my middle brother had this long box full of comics. And I rifled through them, but I didn't read any of them. I just saw, the covers of them, and I looked at them and said, oh, this looks cool, but it didn't really strike a chord with me until I got much older and I got gray hairs. You just can't see them, because trust me when I tell you, you do not want to see what's underneath this good looking hat. But after watching the movies and going to Comic Cons and all this other stuff, friends of mine, Ian and Janet and Kelly, I'm looking at you 3 fellow Marylanders. What's up, Marylanders? they took me to a magical place. And I've been to comic book stores prior to this, but I didn't really, I just walked around, didn't really do anything. But my first really, eye-opening experience to comics, respectively, was Batman Day 2017. Okay, so this is going back 5 years, and this is where I was at Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, Maryland. # support your local comic shops. And I walked through the door, and Trish is one of the co-runners of the shop. She walks up to me and she says, "How you doing? Is this your first time here?" I said, "Yeah, it is. It is my first time." And she says, "Well, what kind of stories do you like? Or what kind of characters do you like?" I said, "Well, I grew up watching, the television shows like X-Men, Spider-Man, and Batman, all this." And she says, "Follow me." So she takes me to this shelf, this group of shelves that says like for new comic readers, like novice readers, right? So all these different titles were across the display case on the racks, and I picked a couple of them up. I bought them. I went home. I read the free the free Batman Day comics that you get when you walk into the store. So I read the freebie stuff. Then I read DC's Rebirth #1, and that was an eye opener. I was like, "Whoa, this is impressive. I like this. Feed me more, please." So the first couple of graphic novels, which we'll discuss here a little bit later on, those just blew my flippin' mind, and my jaw was on the floor, and I said, "I want to read more of this. This is fascinating stuff. The artwork is incredible. The way the characters are presented is great. The mythology goes deep. The just everything about it, the writing, the art, all the ingredients that stirs this itty bitty little drink, just fit my fancy." And I said I wanted more. So then I just started buying up comics, and that leads us to where we are today, here in 2022. 5 years later, I've read a plethora. I still got a lot more to go, which I'm very much looking forward to. And because of shows like, our friends that Crayle and I and, Kelly and others, members of this community know, whether it's Brian K. Morris or Ted Davies or Clyde Hall, all these people have introduced me to different characters, so I've just kind of been drawn to certain things. So yeah, I blame all you people for, I have no more money.
Same.
And I keep spending money that I don't have on comic books that I really can't afford, but I do it anyway because I like to read. And I think life is better when reading. So I blame you, Rising Tide family. You know who you are. Ted Davies. Oh my gosh. And by the way, happy birthday, Ted Davies. You just turned 51 this week. So congratulations, Ted Davies. Happy 51st, buddy. We love you.
Yeah,
So,
Mark and Ruby, who got me started, they're always like, "Well, if you get into comics, you won't have money for drugs."
Wow. Okay, that's very blunt. No puns intended here on this program, anyway. But yeah, that's how I got started.
They weren't worried about me doing drugs. We just have a dark sense of humor between the three of us like that sometimes.
Sounds about right. But yeah, that's my origin story in a nutshell.
All right. Saturday Morning Comics says that going backwards is a great way to get into comics. I became a reader with Batman the Animated Series. I loved Batman the Animated Series so much, and the Justice League cartoon. Justice.
Yep. Grew up watching those too. A lot of fun. I actually do have Justice League Unlimited on Blu-ray. There you go. I have that.
Hello,
and I have selected
James.
episodes from
Hi.
those shows too. Who's that? James Scott. What's up, buddy? Good
James
to see you. Thanks
Scott.
for joining us.
Yeah.
So many wonderful people here tonight. I'm loving it. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with all 200 of your closest friends. You're going to like the way they look after watching this video. I guarantee it.
Right. Ryan, I have to tell you, it is so nice hanging out with someone who got into comics after I did. So many of my friends have been reading comics for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I'm just like, I started in 2013.
Yep.
I am a comic book baby. So, finally I have someone to flex on. Got like 3 years on you, Ryan.
Yeah, it was 2017. What can I say?
It's not very much in the grand scheme of things, but I'm still going to feel proud of myself over it because I never get to.
She is. Oh, goodness gracious.
Saturday Morning Comics says Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. My mom and dad used to watch those with me.
Oh, okay. See, my family, none of the stuff that I was into as a kid, they never watched it with me. It was always me by my itty bitty little self. So I was the one watching Batman. I was the one watching Spider-Man, X-Men. Granted, I had two older brothers, so it was past their time and it was my time. But at that point, it would have been nice if they got into some of the nerdy stuff that I was into. But then again, listen, why fit in when you were born to stand out? I stand out for my family. I'm the biggest nerd in my family because, granted, my brothers may have introduced me to certain properties, but at the same time, I got into the really nerdy stuff myself. So don't worry, brothers Kevin and Greg. You're fine. You're off the hook.
Yeah. I have a slightly funny story about the Justice League cartoons, either one. Um,
Mm,
so when I was growing up, there was a summer that I remember specifically that Justice League came on. You got 2 episodes in a row at
mhm.
like 8 and 8:30.
Yeah.
And we always had to tune in right at 8 and 8:30. I had a stepbrother who was like 3 or 4 years older than me, who didn't want to get made fun of. So we made a big deal out of how we had to go watch Justice League. And then, since Powerpuff Girls came on right afterwards, he would stay there and watch Powerpuff Girls for
Mm.
me because
Oh,
he was
jeez.
embarrassed that he liked Powerpuff Girls just as much as I did.
Oh boy.
So
Oh.
if it hadn't been for Powerpuff Girls, I might not have watched nearly as much Justice League as a kid.
Mm. Mm. Yep. Yep. It's good. It's good stuff.
We have an audience question already.
What is this question? What do we have here? So this is from Shia, I believe.
Looks like it.
Shia LaBoots. What's the difference between comics for children as well as comics for adults? Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Ladies first. You want to answer this? Or you want me to? It doesn't matter.
I mean, honestly, for me, the biggest difference is like a sort of viewer rating like you would have with
Hmm.
movies
Video games.
because or video games, because children's comic books still cover pretty serious content a lot of the time. They just present it in more child-friendly ways. Like I can't tell you how many comic books I've picked up that are aimed for children readers that still address topics like grief,
Mm.
like someone close to you has died in the comic book, or you know, anxiety, where like the character is really anxious about something, and I can relate to that as an adult. So
Yeah.
really it's just the packaging. You get a little more
Mhm.
PG-13 and R-rated language and scenes in adult comic books, but content wise, I mean, I don't remember the exact stats, but I read every National Comic Book Day and Free Comic Book Day that comic books have like a way higher percentage of like uncommon words per 100 words or 1,000 words or whatever
Hmm.
than like young adult novels and chapter books for kids.
Oh
So
wow, that's impressive. Yeah, the best. What am I trying to say here? The best answer that I can give to Shia. I hope we're pronouncing your name right. If we're mispronouncing it, let us know in the comments down below. We want to make sure we get our viewers' names correct. We want to keep you around. Hashtag always be nice. Anyway, so between comics for children and comics for adults, the best thing that I can come up with here, for instance, if you go to your local comic shop and you buy a Wonder Woman graphic novel, but it's like Wonder Woman from the New 52, and it has like Wonder Woman and Superman making out on the front of it, and they're getting their they may be getting their freak on in certain pages, but they're maybe not. Let's just say that there's a bit more violence in a New 52 graphic novel than there would be in a DC superhero girls graphic novel for children, because my niece has read the DC superhero girls stories, and those are more appropriate for children. So that's the best difference that I could come up with. It's basically saying, well, the Sandman is, or Why the Last Man, that is some deep stuff. But if you want something for the kids, read DC Superhero Girls. That is more kid friendly than anything else. Granted, that's only
mhm.
one property or one title that comes off the top of my head, just because my niece is the one that reads that. So that's the stuff that comes off the top of my head. There's a lot of other suggestions out there, so don't, I'm not, what I'm saying isn't, the necessary like correct one, but I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah, if you've got suggestions for great kids comics, people,
Yeah,
put them in the
kid-friendly
comments.
comics, please.
Kid-friendly
Please let us know,
comics.
because my niece and nephew, I'm trying to get them to read more comics. So if you got any titles that they should be reading that I haven't thrown out to them yet, let me know. Because so far my niece reads DC Superhero Girls, and my nephew, he kind of reads like a couple of different things, but he hasn't really narrowed it down to like any one specific thing. So if you got something that a 9-year-old boy should be reading, let me, by all means, let us know in the comments. By the way, Saturday Morning Comics. Do we know this person? Do we know who that is?
Um,
Like, who's the person behind that account? Because I don't know if I've ever heard of that show, or what is it, a show or a YouTube channel? Because if it is, I'm curious to watch
yeah,
it.
Saturday Morning Comics. Like,
I
tell
should
us
get
who
on
you
that.
are. I feel like I should know who this is because Saturday Morning Comics and Back of the Cereal Box and Cereal Box Network should be like holding hands here.
Simpatico.
But I'm a new kid on the block here. I don't know everybody yet.
Same here. I don't know everybody yet here, but let's see. I share your feelings. My family isn't really nerdy as myself. They just all mutually enjoy Batman TI. Okay, but listen, not everything is for everyone. That's the biggest thing that I've learned in my journey, not just as a comic fan, but as a nerd in general. Not everyone is into everything. That is true. Let's see. PPG is great,
Powerpuff
they say.
Girls.
Oh,
Yeah.
Powerpuff Girls. I'm sorry. I was like, what's that acronym? Is great. I'm a dude, and I'd watch it with you or without you, says Saturday Morning Comics.
He was a preteen, and
Oh, gosh.
we all get a little extra sensitive in our preteen and teen years about being embarrassed about stuff. It's another reason to get into comics as an adult. Like, it's so not too late. Actually, you're going to find you're probably way more relaxed about getting on into all of this now if you're an adult than trying to get into it as like the new kid as a teenager. Just hopefully you're a little more secure in yourself now.
Yeah. Speaking of female characters, I will admit I have watched reruns when I was a child during my childhood. I did watch reruns of Sailor Moon.
I
It's
love
true.
Sailor Moon.
Do
I'm
you?
obsessed with Sailor
Yeah.
Moon.
I figured you were. So listen, I am man enough to admit I've seen Sailor Moon, okay? I've seen bits and pieces of Powerpuff Girls, but I don't think I've ever watched full-length episodes. Sorry, PPG fans. But I have watched Sailor Moon, so I'm man enough to admit it. I haven't watched it since my childhood, but I have seen it previously. So there you go. There's something for you to chew on at home in the comments. a man of my stature is admitting to watching Sailor Moon as a kid.
I actually met the 90s voice actresses Katie Griffin, who did Sailor Mars, and Linda
Really?
Valentine, who did Sailor Moon at Indiana Comic-Con last weekend.
How
I
was
was
that,
able
by
to
the
slip
way?
away from my vendor table just long enough to go stand in the autograph line, and they were both so nice. And Linda Valentine signed my print and technically wasn't necessarily supposed to sign any second things or whatever, but I brought my manga with her to show her that since she was the voice actress from my childhood, that I hear her voice when I read it now, and she signed that for me too. So sweet.
Fan moments.
Yeah. All right, Saturday Morning Comics is Cade. Comicade.
Oh, Comicade and Cade. Okay, all right, cool. Thanks for letting us know who you were, because I like the look of your
Oh yeah.
thing here in the comment section. By the way,
Nice to meet you. Virtual handshake.
your virtual handshakes, virtual high fives. Hey, yeah, like Pam and Jim from The Office. See what I did there? Hey, Cosplay Cafe.
Here.
Who's this?
Probably Kelly.
Hmm.
Probably Kelly. I think Andrea's usually at work.
What does she say here?
For those who don't know, myself and two other people also do a podcast called Cosplay Cafe every other Friday.
Hey!
Yeah! Hashtag always support your friends.
Yes. I got the Cosplay Cafe shirt here, Kelly.
Mike Mayhack's Cleopatra in Space and Marthius and Janet Wade's Shinobi Ninja Princess are two fantastic kids comics. I was hoping Kelly would bring up Shinobi Ninja Princess because I could picture the art style when we were talking about it and could not remember the name. So no, those are really great. Like, I've watched reviews and I can't wait to read those. Deborah Powell says, we love Marvel. When I visit my first comic book store, what should I know? 8 to 10-year-old. Ryan, you take this one first. I feel like I've been getting all the first answers.
Oh my gosh, man, Deborah coming in hot with that question. Let's see here. So we love Marvel. When I visit my first comic, what should I know for an 8 to 10-year-old? Oh my gosh, wow. Well, first of all, it's going to be a whole new world when they walk in there, which is very true. Second of all, DC Superhero Girls is good for girls if they want to read that. Gosh, man, that's one of the few times. I mean, what Kelly just brought up, Shinobi and Cleopatra in Space, those are good ones. So what should I know? I think the best thing to do is just walk around the store, take it all in, give it a few moments for yourself and your family to just absorb I love the smell of comic books in the morning. The comic book smell. The comic book shop smell, if they use air fresheners, that's fine too. I would just say walk around the store. Just walk around, see if anything fits your fancy. If you're having any trouble whatsoever, just go up to one of the employees or the manager of the store and say, hey, listen, this is my first time here. I'm new to this circuit. I'm new to the land. I don't know quite what's going on. Could you please help me find comics for an 8 to 10-year-old child? And they would help you. That's what your LCS is supposed to do. They're supposed to know things. They're supposed to learn and use the books because comic book stores are supposed to do or do not. There is no try. Sorry, Crayle, you were saying?
Oh no, I'm so bad at interrupting.
No, it's okay. Listen, if you want to steal my thunder, which you shouldn't be doing, but if you want to, you're fine. You can do it. But that's the best advice I can give you, Deborah. Just walk around, take it all in for a minute. If you can't find anything, or if you're still feeling a bit unsure of what to get for your child, then you should address it to the employees of the store or the manager, and they
Yeah.
will help you. They are supposed to help you.
And if your child is with you, look, I know we all say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. At 8
Yeah,
to 10, if they're happy about books, let them pick it because they like the cover. Let them pick it because they like the art
yeah,
style. Like, put
that's
them
another
in a
thing.
children's section if they have one, just to keep things, a little more correctly rated or whatever. And just let them pick up like the first thing that speaks to them. Because if you let them choose it, like I've done a lot of, well, not lately because everything's been closed down. But for a while, I did free comic book day every year. And a
Oh,
lot of kids do their first ever trip to a comic book store on free
mm,
comic book day because that gives parents a chance to wet their feet without spending a lot of money. And kids, like, sometimes the first thing that speaks to them, if you let them actually choose it, like, you can tell that gives them their little, like, this is for me moment. So, yeah. All right. Across the Pond Sports Network is loving the show. We love you too. Thank
thank
you.
you for joining us, James. That's James, our good friend James. Good to see you, buddy. Wish you the best with your sports network. I did get your request to follow your page on Facebook, your Facebook group page, respectively, and I did accept it. So I'm following you now, buddy. It's all good. So yeah, James is a good man. Good man. Lives all the way overseas. I believe he's in Scotland. So
Nice.
yeah, we're getting fans from all over the world. I'm loving this.
It's amazing. First
I
episode.
like
We're
it a
already
lot.
international.
Yes, we're going international, folks. Yeah,
We
but great
have
question, by the way. That's a great question.
it
Great
was.
question.
Thank you, Deborah.
Mm-hmm.
We've got more Powerpuff Girl chatter here. Who knew this was going to turn into the Powerpuff Girl show? David says him was super creepy. If you've never seen Powerpuff Girls, him is either a lobster or the devil. It's
Oh,
not
geez.
entirely clear.
Ugh.
And he's just him. I don't know how to
Mm.
describe him. I don't know. Look up best him clips or something from Powerpuff Girls. But Saturday Morning Comics Kid says Mojo Jojo was hilarious though. Or as they say on the show, Mojo Jojo. This is Kelly commenting from the Cosplay Cafe
Oh,
account.
you're welcome, Kelly. You're welcome. It's a good looking shirt too. It goes well. You know, red, a little bit of silver, a little bit of blue, maybe familiar character, Superman. Colors. Maybe that's why I chose this color for this shirt. I don't know. Maybe it is. Oh, by the way, this happened yesterday, not today. I just want to point that out. Happy 84th birthday to Superman. Yeah, 84 years young for Clark Kent, aka Kal-El of Krypton. So, greatest of all time, in my opinion. In my opinion, I know there's people think differently. That's fine, but for me, Superman's my number one. Saturday morning, what is it? Comics says get Spidey in your trade collection. 8 to 10-year-olds would enjoy that. Yeah, there's a lot of kid-friendly Spider-Man. Well, that's because let's face it, Spider-Man is Marvel's most popular character. I don't always wish that were the case because the Spider-Man train is a little too much for me at times, but I get it. So yeah, Spider-Man, there are great Spider-Man kid-friendly comics out there, like the Spider-Men or the Spider-Ham, or what's another one, like Spider-Man Noir, I think is another one.
I don't know if that one is as kid-friendly as
Well,
some
not
of
as
the other
kid-friendly,
ones.
but he does have some kid-friendly comics. Let's see, not Spider-Man Noir, I probably shouldn't have said that, but Spider-Ham, Miles Morales.
I was just gonna say all the Miles Morales ones I think are like PG and down. Don't quote me on it. I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah.
There might be PG-13 moments, but I don't think there's anything R-rated in the Miles
Morales is a big deal right now, as he should be. So if you're
Right.
looking for some kid-friendly Spider-Man comics, trust me when I tell you, you're not going to run out of options when it comes to Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Sorry, that's from the 1960s. And yes, I grew up watching reruns of that on VHS, so my family rented those tapes from Errol's. Okay, Errol's was a video store way back in the day in Maryland. Okay, I just want to point that out. And also there was Blockbuster Video and Hollywood Video and all that jazz. Sorry, I got way off track. What is Cosplay Cafe saying?
That free comic book day is May 7th this year and would be an excellent day to try things out. There's always some kid-friendly comics available on FCBD, which is the abbreviation for Free Comic Book Day.
May 7th, big day. Please mark that in your calendars, put it on your phone, write it on your Post-it notes, slap it on your fridge if you have to remind the kids, hey kids, we're going to Sears. No, we're not going to Sears. We're going to your local comic shop for Free Comic Book Day because that's Free Comic Book Day is back for the first time in 2 years since the lockdown, which I'm very excited for because a friend of mine who's a writer he's going to be at my local comic store on May the 7th. So I told him I'd come out there and pay him a visit and
Yeah,
see
you
how
keep
he's doing.
mentioning your Maryland comic book shops, and I actually went to Third Eye Comics. I'm from Indiana. I live in Indiana, but my father-in-law lived in Maryland. That's where my husband is from. And so I went out there for a couple of weeks 2 summers ago to help him while he was recovering from a surgery. And he was I was on Facebook, and I was like, huh, the Facebook algorithm knows I'm staying in Maryland for a little while because I keep getting ads for this comic book shop in Annapolis claiming to be the world's largest comic book shop. Apparently that's in Annapolis. And he was like, I am so stir crazy. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, I want to go. So, and they are so friendly in there. We walked in, and you kind of look up at it, and they're just like, oh, it's your first time. Let's help you out. We don't want you to be overwhelmed.
Yep, same thing happened. Yeah, when I walked in, very friendly staff, whether it's Trish or Scott or I think what is it, Brent, or is it Brian? Brent. Who? Bottom line is their staff may or may not have changed in the last few years due to the lockdown situation, but great people. If you're ever in the Annapolis area of Maryland, definitely pay Third Eye Comics to visit because hey, listen, they changed my life, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in this show. But look at all these wonderful comments. They are scrolling through like crazy. Look at. My good friend Meredith is here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. What did she say? If you could only read one comic for the rest of your entire life, what would it be? Wow, Meredith. Oh my gosh. Is that a deep cut or what? If I could only read one comic for the rest of my life, what would it be? Crayle, do you have an idea on this? Or do you need a moment to think?
Okay. Like, if we can pick like a franchise to stick with it, not like DC or Marvel, but like a smaller, like a sub franchise or something, I think I can answer this.
Go ahead.
But I would need way more time if it was just like one character or like one novel. But like, if I had to stick inside one sort of like sub franchise, it would be the Hellboy universe where the BPRD and Abe Sapien and all them are.
Mike Mignola would be very happy.
Right. Like, Mike Mignola, watch this. Be flattered. That was such a huge compliment coming from me. Okay. All right. All right.
True.
Love you, Mike Mignola.
Yeah. Gosh, we can only. But here's the other thing, though. What do you mean by comic, though, Meredith? Because comics are back issues, but there are also trade paperbacks. There's omnibuses. There's graphic. Like, there's a couple of different words here. But if you're just referring to, I guess I'll go with graphic novel just for argument's sake. For the sake of the question, Meredith, if I had to read one graphic novel hypothetically for the rest of my life, I can't say because we're going to talk more about it in the show later. I don't want to give away spoilers, but let's go with something that's off the beaten path here a little bit. Let's go with gosh, this is so hard. Man, I don't want to give away the spoiler. You know what? Why the Last Man? I'll go with Why the Last Man Volume 1. Just Volume 1. Because I read that a couple months ago. I liked it. I didn't watch the series. It only lasted like a couple episodes, unfortunately, I heard. So I need to go back and watch that. And I need to read the other 4 volumes in the set. But I don't know, maybe Why the Last Man? Even though Why the Last Man is kind of a depressing story because it's a dystopian story. So maybe I should switch that up. I don't know. Why the Last Man? We'll go with that for now. Meredith, if I change my mind later, I'll let you know.
I love dystopian stories. Ryan is actually the one who got me watching The 100. I had been considering it, and then he was like, "Such an underrated CW show. You have to watch it." And like, I'm near the beginning of season 2 because we had to take a break from pretty much all of our TV shows because I was so sick that I couldn't focus on watching the TV for most of March. But like, love dystopian stuff. Honestly, sometimes Hellboy is a little dystopian. Like, come to think of it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know. I haven't read any of the Hellboy comics. I've only seen the 3 films. The 2, Guillermo del Toro, and the reboot film that didn't fare well. The reboot didn't do so hot. But that happens with everybody. That happens with every property. Every property gets rebooted. They always say the reboots are terrible. The originals are always better, which in this case, I think I would agree, because Hellboy 2, The Golden Army is a pretty decent, solid film.
Right? I was heartbroken that we didn't get the 3rd installment, because clearly they set it up.
Yeah, it bombed at the box office. It didn't make any money. Which is sad. But great question, though, Meredith. Way to push us to our limits, if not beyond our freaking limits.
It's like you broke us, because now I feel like we're a little lost in thought at this point.
We're gonna have to think about this one for a while, but good question though.
My friend Derek says that Kryptonian DNA keeps you young.
Yeah. I mean, see, wait a minute. The Krypton. Oh, Oh, you mean referring to Superman's 84th
Yeah.
birthday? Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say because I'm not Kryptonian. I wish I was, but I'm not. But yeah, Kryptonian. It definitely keeps you young. Yeah, that's true. Happy 84th, Superman. We love you. I mean, at
Yeah.
least I do.
More useful advice coming in from Kelly over at Cosplay Cafe. Most Marvel and DC comics have ratings on the back too.
Yes, I've noticed that. Some will say T. What is it like? T for teen, or M for mature readers, or for teenagers only, or all ages, something like that. It's all
It's
different.
something
Every comic book distributor like Marvel and DC, and what's the other one, like Image and Boom and
Dark
Dynamite and Dark
Horse.
Horse, IDW. There's another one. Image.
Mhm.
They all have different kind of ways of how they word the ratings. So just be sure to check that on the front or back covers of your books
Mm-hmm.
because every distributor is different. Just keep that in mind.
Carl Witzman is just checking in.
Hey, Carl, good to see you.
Whenever I know Carl's watching, I like to make really funny faces so that he'll screenshot them and make fun of me later in his Facebook groups.
He probably just screenshotted a couple things just about now.
The highlight of my week, looking for a Carl screenshot of me or somebody I'm really close with, just being like, haha, I know what we were talking about, but everybody else is so confused right now.
Yeah. Oh, Andrew's here. What's up, Andrew?
Oh, yeah. Let me put that up on the screen.
What's up, Andrew? Andrew says, Ryan. Yeah. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Oh, you're hurting my feelings, Andrew. You're leaving me out.
He can
I'm
give you
being
a shout.
sarcastic. You're not.
I mean, he can give you a shout out a little bit later on in the show if he wants, but then he just typed in Smallville. Yes, I love Smallville, 100%.
Oh well, I would never try to take billing over Smallville.
No, I
know my place.
Love Smallville. Kelly, myself, a whole bunch of others. We did something for the anniversary. Keisha A. Cup is here. Oh my gosh. Carl's got it. And then Keisha says, hello, beautiful people. Keisha, it is so good to see you. By the way, Keisha is not only a good friend of ours, she's a writer. And she has a new book out. So if you want to read something that's a bit on the creepy side, it's called Him, and you can find it on Amazon. Just type in Keisha Acuff, which her name is right there on the comments section below. Make sure you type that in. And then her books will come up, and then you can treat yourself to some books. # support your friends.
You can. Speaking of support and, looking things up on the internet and what. Oh, Andrew, thank you. Thank you.
Andrew chimes in.
Self-esteem restored. Self-esteem restored. We have a partner, an affiliate partner for this show, theradbear.com. They have all kinds of fascinating. You know what, Ryan? You do this pitch so much better than I do. I'm going to cut out right in the middle of it. You take over.
Okay. Didn't want to step on anyone's toes here on the set, but if you go to theradbear.com, they got some killer looking threads for shirts, or they got t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, if you will, other kinds of nerd swag, hat. I think they have a hat. Do they have a hat? Maybe they have a hat or two. But if you go to theradbear.com and use that promo code COMICS10, all one word, COMICS10, you'll get 10% off your order. They got shirts from Power Rangers to anime, from Dragon Ball Z to, what's another one? Voltron to Gundam to, Gundam's another big property. They also have stuff from the Neverending Story from the 1980s. Hello, the Neverending Story. I mean, come on, that's
Didn't
like.
they have the Last Unicorn shirt the first time you sent me a link to them?
I think they still have that. You might want to go back and look at the website later, but I can't comment or speculate on that. But what I can say is that if you want to treat yourself to some nerd swag, go to theradbear.com, use promo code COMICS10, and you'll get 10% off. So thank you very much to theradbear.com and everyone over there. You guys are great. They're having some new shirts and new merchandise is going to be presented on their website in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. It's very exciting. They're going to be adding some more anime shirts, and I'm starting to get into the manga and anime properties now. So yeah, I gave away a bit of a spoiler, but yes, I'm officially a fan of manga. I'm officially, sort of, kind of starting to come around to the anime, but right now I'm focusing on the manga because the manga is quite fun. So yeah, I started reading manga now. So that's another thing that's happened in 2022. Keisha says, thank you so much for that shout out. Well, guess what, Keisha? You're quite welcome. And also, Keisha, we're sending you virtual hugs because you've been under the weather for a long time recently. You've been struggling a lot lately, Keisha, so get well soon, will ya?
All right. Andrew talking to us about the Neverending Story. He says a reboot should happen, but I don't know if there are enough mushrooms available nowadays. I live commented my experience rewatching the Neverending Story for the first time as an adult a couple of months ago in the middle of the night. And so people just got to scroll through. So I did my first post about it. I was like 30 seconds into my rewatch of The Neverending Story, and how dare they have such a happy theme song? This is the worst tonal dissonance I can think of. Like, I'm angry. This movie, if I hadn't seen it before, would be lying to me right now about what the tone of this movie is, right? And so then the story goes on for the song goes on for like 3 whole minutes, and I'm like, is this movie not as sad as I remember? And then 15 seconds after that, his dad is telling him he needs to stop imagining things and like
get over the death of your mom.
Right. And I was like, okay, no, it's definitely as sad as I remember.
It deals with some heavy themes in that film, but it's a great film from the 80s, and it's practical effects too. So please appreciate the people who put together practical effects in film or television, for that matter, because practical effects, you don't really see them too much anymore. Everyone's so used to using CGI and computer generated, visual effects and all this jazz. No. Back in the day of the 80s and the 70s, you had to like build all your special effects. Look at George Lucas in the original trilogy. They built all those sets. All those sets were built.
If the traveling Star Wars exhibit ever comes to your city or a city near you,
yeah, please.
When it was in Indianapolis, it was so amazing. And one of the things they had was a lot of the models they used where they were like, literally, we put this model right here on the screen, and then this other model way, 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 way closer to the camera to make it look 100 times bigger. And that's the whole effect. That's what it is. Like, and just like the visual sciences of it were so fascinating. That and the costumes looked uncomfortable as heck, and they were really sweaty and gross. Like the original movies did not have a huge costume budget. And you think about it now, like a lot of the times, like the actor doesn't wear the same costume twice after they finished a scene. Mm-hmm. Because like they've got them custom tailored to the type of movements you're going to do in this action shot versus this like close-up discussion. No, they just wore the same burlap sacks with armholes cut in them for the first 3 movies. It did not look comfortable.
Gee whiz. Yeah. I mean, bring that exhibit over to the East Coast, guys. I want to see this.
Carl wants to know if Ryan just didn't have enough show.
Listen, Carl, you and I have been friends for a good while now, so let me tell you something. I enjoy keeping myself busy, and I enjoy entertaining the masses. That's why I do these shows. So if someone offers me a spot, what I'm going to do is say no. I mean, you got to have fun in life, man. You just got to have fun. This is what honestly, all the podcasts that I do, this is what it is for me. It's fun. It's fun to do these things. You're with your friends. You're with people who appreciate some of the same fandoms that you do. Maybe not everything, but a portion of them anyway. And listen, if you love what you do here, Carl, it's not called work. So, yeah, I like what I'm doing, man. It's fun. I'm going to keep doing it till I can do it no longer. I'm just going to point that out. I mean, hey, listen, our boy Ted just turned 51, and he looks like he's 25 going on 30 with that thick beard he's got going. So, I mean, listen, if that guy can keep going, why can't I? I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, man, age is just a number, bro. I mean, Crayle, she's a baby compared to me, but still, I mean, look, we can do this until we're blue in the face. It doesn't matter. But anyway, Carl, I'm sorry to go off on a random tangent here, but it seems like Crayle had to take a quick commercial break and get another beverage. But she's back now, so thank you for that. So yeah, Carl, I'm going to keep doing these shows, brother. Hey, listen, Carl, don't be surprised if you catch me on Thursday night on Stupid O'Clock, okay? Don't be surprised if you see me pop into that room at 9:30 at night on Thursday. Anyway, I'm sorry. This isn't about me. This is about you, and this is about our comments, and this is about comic books. This is not about how Ryan is the most popular man on the internet right now, which I know I am. But
obviously, this is why I was so excited to get on a show with Ryan.
Gosh, I know, right? Her reputation is going to skyrocket because I'm on her show.
It's going to borrow some of your
I'm
clout.
pointing this way. Thank you. Oh gosh. So Crayle, I believe we're past a certain mark of this evening. Do we want to go into some of our picks or what we would recommend to some new adult readers out there, or do we want to keep taking questions and comments for the next X amount? I mean, I'm cool with that too, but it's like,
I mean, it looks like this is the first time the comments have slowed down a little bit since we started the show. We love you all so much. We're so touched that you want to talk to us.
We love you too, Carl.
We really are. But I'm going to pull up one of the big bombshells that I know Ryan could talk about forever. I'm just going to pop this up on the screen. Ryan, how does this comic book cover make you feel?
makes me smile from ear to ear. You know why? Because if you are starting out reading comics and you're going into a comic store and they show you a rack of books for novice readers, this is one of the first ones I ran into when I was at Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, Maryland.
For people doing audio only, this is Kingdom Come by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. The cover is an older graying Superman just looking really concerned is the biggest middle piece of it. I'm not going to describe the whole thing, but
No, it's cool. That's completely understandable for audio listeners here on the program. But yes, this is Kingdom Come. This is written by Mark Waid, and the artwork is done by Alex Ross. This is, at this point, even though I got a long way to go, this is my favorite graphic novel right now. It's my favorite one of all time for the moment. So Kingdom Come, written by Mark Waid, artwork done by Alex Ross, is about, they fast forward the timeline here. This is a standalone story, so you don't have to like read other corresponding volumes or corresponding, back issues of comics to understand what's going on. This is a standalone story that takes place in the way distant future where your favorite superheroes they're older, they're gray. A lot of them have retired and moved on to something else, or they just want to move on and be with their loved ones. So there's a new group of heroes that is patrolling the world, but they're not doing it in the best way that they could be. So Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, comes to the Kent farm and attempts to bring Kal-El / Superman back into the fold and says, hey, listen, things are not going well with the new crop of heroes. Something's gone wrong. We need your help to fix it. And at first, Superman is reluctant to do anything, but eventually him and his friends get drawn into this situation in this story. So this is a great story about what if your superheroes got really, really old, very gray, retired, they moved on, and a new crop of heroes has taken over the DC universe. So this is a great story. The artwork is just, oh my gosh, like Alex Ross is my favorite comic book artist, and Mark Waid is my favorite comic book writer, and for good reason. So check out Kingdom Come. It's a great book. Great story. A lot of great characters of the DC universe are involved in this. A lot of the best DC villains are involved in this story. You get some surprises. You get some twists and turns during the course of the story. And parts of the story are seen through the eyes of an old man who, grew up, idolizing these heroes and seeing his world take in a different shape, and it's crumbling and it's getting destroyed. And he's trying to figure out, why is this happening? Why aren't the old school Justice League doing anything about it? It is so good. So check it out. Visit your LCS. Go on Amazon. Treat yourself to some great DC storytelling in the DC universe, because Kingdom Come is going to blow you away. It's going to knock your socks off. It's going to do something. May have your jaw on the floor. I know Crayle's probably wondering, when is Ryan going to stop talking? I'm sorry, but this is my favorite. So Kingdom Come, check it out. I look forward to meeting Mark Waid one day, because I'm going to have him, and if I meet Alex Ross, I'm going to have both of these gentlemen sign my paperback paperback copy of this book, because I love it. I absolutely love it. It is a big part of my collection. It is a very important part of my collection. So Ted Davies, you want to talk about something known as the Holy Grail, Dr. Jones? This is my Holy Grail right here. Kingdom Come is my numero uno. So any questions?
Oh, I was not at all upset at how long you were talking about it. I know it's like one of your favorite comics. I also love Kingdom Come. I was just rocking back and forth, ready to point out that Alex Ross is one of my favorite illustrators of all time. This is the second ever character that I cosplayed, Liberty Bell. The first costume that I started, but we finished my Wonder Girl first. And like we based, part of what got me into cosplay and therefore comics off of this image right here. This is like a painting, guys. Like this, like what Alex Ross is amazing. That was just hanging on my wall, so I had to go grab it.
Visual props.
Sometimes they help. Sometimes I feel like they just distract me. But speaking of Alex Ross and Liberty Bell right there, I'm going to take a turn now.
Sure.
One of my earliest comic books, because Mark was like, first of all, you're going to love Liberty Bell and you want to cosplay her, but also you're really going to love Little Miss Courtney here, otherwise known as Stargirl. You need to start with the Justice Society of America. Sometimes I have like a mild sort of hipster tendency. I'm not proud of it. I don't think it makes me better than anybody else, but sometimes I'm like, I'm just so tired of this really popular thing. And so instead of starting me right into like the Justice League or a Batman comic or something, he was like, here's something that's very well established, but maybe you haven't heard about over and over again, the Justice Society of America. So I started with the New Age, I believe is what volume 1 is called. I read it so long ago. I mean, it's on my shelf right now, and sometimes just names escape me. But the Justice Society of America, by the time you get into the new age of it, actually, this has some similar themes as Kingdom Come Here, where where superheroism does not have the same gold standard meaning that it's had. A lot of people have retired or lost faith in like the causes of justice or whatever. And Courtney, who's known as Stargirl, and some other younger heroes like inspire everyone to get the team back together to take out some of those really big threats again. And like, I mean, they're like a huge league, and it's not always, the stories aren't always just about fighting the villains. Cause like, yes, obviously the Fourth Reich, who wants to bring Nazis back, is bad. And you need some heroes to go fight them because they're all super villains. They're like super villain Nazis, right? Obviously bad. But one of the really interesting things about the Justice Society of America is it's such a huge team of diverse people. They have really different opinions, especially after having kind of broken apart and come back together with more normal everyday experience than they had about what being a hero means. And there's a lot of conflict within the team that doesn't feel super soap opera-ish. It has its soap opera moments where this person's dating that person and this other person's not okay with it. But there's also a lot of interpersonal drama that's not soap opera-y. It's really a lot about what makes a leader and what makes us have the right to intervene in this situation, but not that one. And so, like, if you are feeling a little exhausted with some of the, like, movie franchises, the MCU and the DCEU and stuff, but you do want to get into comics with a starting point where there are going to be names you recognize sometimes, the Justice Society of America is a great place to start, where you're just going to, like, it's already established. If you're someone who likes to consume stuff that's already published and binge it, kind of like waiting for all the episodes of something to go on a streaming service like Ryan and I like to do.
Yeah.
Pick up the Justice Society of America. I believe the first one's called New Age, but Justice Society of America Volume 1.
Yeah, and that's written by, is it Jeff Johns?
Jeff Johns. I love Jeff Johns so much.
Okay. Because I'm trying to look at the names here. So Justice Society of America is written by Jeff Johns. And we also have, who do we have here? We
Gail
have
Eaglesham and Art Thibault.
Art Thibault. Okay, I like the cover. Very good looking cover. You got Stargirl in the center saying, "No, we need her," something, whatever she's doing. And then you got Hawkman, you got Jay Garrick's The Flash, I believe, the one with the silver hat on.
Jay
You got him chiming in there. You got Liberty, which, by the way, I never heard of Liberty. Is it Liberty Bell? Is that her name?
Liberty Bell. So Liberty Bell,
I never heard of her.
By this point in time, so her mom, she's a legacy. Her mom was the first Liberty Bell, and her dad was the first Jesse Quick. And then she was Jesse Quick for a while. She's super strong like her mom and super fast like her dad. And then she takes up her mom's mantle after her mom has died and revamps the Liberty Bell character a little bit. Legacies and like what it means to carry on a superhero's legacy is another big theme in Justice Society of America. Like, if you like what's going on in the HBO series Stargirl, where this teenager is like getting the band back together from the remnants of like an older Justice Society, like, so Jeff Johns also was super involved in the making of the show. Like, it's his baby.
It's a good show.
Like, if you like that show, you're gonna like the comics. They're just a more in-depth version of that whole feel, but like the details are different. So you're not just like reading the same thing that you just watched.
I'll have to add this to my list because I was first introduced to the JSA on Smallville. They had a 2-parter episode of the Justice Society of America that included Courtney Whitmore, a different actress was playing the character at the time. Like I said, these are different iterations here, folks. So you had Stargirl, you had Hawkman, you had Icicle was the villain in that episode. You had, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, Dr. Fate.
Yes,
in that. And oh my god, like the suit that he wore and the voiceover. And this was a 2-part episode. That's all this was. This was like a 2-hour episode. But I'm telling you, the look of those characters, I'm like, who exactly is the JSA? And can you give me more of this, please? Because I am intrigued by the history of certain characters, whether it's Green Lantern, Wildcat. I mean, Wildcat's another one. So you got Wildcat in there.
Grant's Wildcat, and then his son is a completely different type of Wildcat than him later. Just playing again on that concept of legacies,
It's absolutely crazy. But I was first introduced to the JSA on Smallville, and I really like that. So what is it, Crayle? I'm gonna have to add your title that you just dropped here, the JSA, to my reading list, even though it's probably 50,000 miles long, and I'll probably never get to the end of it. But listen, I'm intrigued by these characters, and I'm a DC fan through and through. So if I get to my LCS this weekend, or during the free comic book day sales, I can go over there and pick up a copy. So we shall see.
Well, we've got
yes.
to pick it up a little bit because it is 8:50. Oh my goodness. And we have some comments. I'm going to actually pop some of those up before we keep going, actually.
Hey, listen, who said the pilot episode had to be a certain time frame? We can go over 60 minutes. We can have fun with this.
All right, we can have fun with it then.
Because it's Tuesday. It's the night before New Comic Book Day. I don't have no job, and I ain't got nothing to do. So anyway, who is this? Saturday Morning Comics says, have you guys read at all the Usagi Yojimbo series? I've heard of it. I've seen the cover of it at my LCS shop, like different shops in and around the county, but I've never read it. What is it about exactly? Is it about a warrior type thing?
Yeah, drop that in the comments for sure. Because literally all I know is because of Sailor Moon, I know that Usagi means bunny rabbit.
Oh, it means, but okay, so it's like that. Okay, yep. So what exactly is Usagi Yojimbo? What is it about? I want to know that, like, if someone could give me like a non-spoilery but like quick synopsis of the storyline. What exactly is What is it? Stargirl was great in JLU. Oh,
I completely forgotten she was in there. I need to rewatch.
I need to rewatch that. I have it on Blu-ray.
All on HBO now, like.
Yes, everything. The DC properties are officially on HBO Max. So if you want to go back and rewatch some of these things, they are available if you have a subscription, or if you're piggybacking off your friends' accounts. Let's see. Harvey Witt says
of our choices. He says, "Awesome. I have these issues." And hey, definitely check out Smallville, where the members of the Justice Society of America are introduced. So
Yep. Introduced along with the dangerous killer known as Icicle II. Yes. It was a great two-part episode.
Starman, aka the Star Spangled Kid.
That's who I was trying to think of. Who was the other guy in that? Star Spangled Kid.
Apparently, we have Joseph Michael Fox's permission.
Yeah, time means nothing when it comes to the internet. Yeah, and by the way, I want to take this opportunity to once again say thank you to all of you who have chimed in on this episode thus far. And make sure you're sharing this video with all 400 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching this episode or this debut episode of Comic Books: The New Class. I guarantee it. Joseph says time means nothing. David says, you guys are awesome. Great for thank you so much. Oh, shucks. I mean, you're making me blush over here, man. But anyway. He says, Miyamoto Usagi is the Ronin Rabbit. Yojimbo means bodyguard. It's a deep as well as a wonderful story. Well, listen, if I see it on my LCS the next time I'm up there, I'll see if they got a copy of Volume 1 or something like that. Maybe I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know, because we're trying to keep this beginner-friendly, LCS is local comic book store.
Yes, sorry.
Local comic book shop. You don't have to be sorry for anything,
Yeah, that's the acronym.
Teachable
LCS
moment.
stands for Local Comic Shop. # always support your LCS, which means Local Comic Shop, for those of you who may be wondering. What is Ryan speaking?
I literally forgot this morning that FCBD was Free Comic Book Day and was talking to Kelly about it. And I was like,
what is that?
It's familiar, but what is FCBD? Like, and I've been doing Free Comic Book Day since 2014. So like,
I've been doing it since 2018, 2019 is when I started doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we had this one up on the screen.
Oh, yes. So the next pick, in case you want to read, or if you're starting to read comics and you're interested in different stories from different distributors, this one is a great example. Am I right, Crayle? This is from Image Comics.
I haven't read it yet, but I believe you. I trust you, Ryan.
More stuff to add to your reading list. Anyway, so the image we have for you on screen is brought to you by Image Comics. This is called The Old Guard. This is book number 1. It is called Opening Fire by Greg Rucka and company. I can't remember the first names of these other writers, but it's Fernandez, let's see, Miwa, and Wynn. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. That's why I'm looking so close at the screen. So you're wondering, why is Ryan diving into the screen so much? Well, it's because I'm not wearing my bloody glasses.
I thought it was so we could see more of the beautiful face.
No, you do not want to see what's underneath this hat. But anyway, it's called The Old Guard by Greg Rucka and company. Now, this is a very, very intriguing story. This is about a group of people who are mercenaries, but they are immortal. They cannot die. They never age. So when they reached a certain age in their own respective lives, whenever they were born in a certain timeline, they never aged. So, but because of that, they used the skills that they developed over the course of time to battle bad people who are doing terrible things. So they save the world, but the world doesn't know anything about them. They don't know who they are, what their names are, where they came from, where they live. but there is someone out there that has been scouting them, that has been watching them, and they want to kidnap certain members of the old guard and experiment on them and take blood samples and do DNA tests to find out who exactly are these people and why don't they age. They want to know the secret to their immortality, so they attempt to kidnap certain members of the squad, and it's up to the other half of the team to go out and rescue them that do get captured. Not to give away too many spoilers, but there is a kidnapping sequence in this graphic novel. Oh, by the way, the Old Guard series in general is violent. So this is not safe for children, okay? This is a mature graphic novel for adults, such as yours truly, and Crayle, who is sitting to my right or my left. I can't tell. Either way, but The Old Guard is a great series, and they made it into a Netflix film. The first book was made into a Netflix original movie, which is on Netflix right now. It's just simply called The Old Guard, and it stars Charlize Theron in the lead role. Okay.
Which makes it mandatory viewing.
Which Charlize Theron is one of the biggest names in Hollywood right now. So if you want to read the book first and then watch the movie like I did, it's really fascinating stuff. So it's called The Old Guard. Definitely check it out. It's from Image. Great set of writers. Great, really brutal artwork, but it goes with the territory. But it's really good artwork. It's good dialogue and exploring the themes of immortality and what would you do with this immortality and how you use these gifts or you abuse these powers. It's a very good story about exploring different themes of characters. So definitely check it out. It's called The Old Guard. Anyway, I know I'm yapping and yapping, but gee whiz, Crayle, what is your next title up for grabs?
Oh boy. So I think I'm next going to cover Hellboy Seed of Destruction, which is a great place to start. I mean, there are several possible starting points to get into the Hellboy universe because the BPRD books, the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, you can also start there and not be lost. But what really brought me to Hellboy was the Hellboy movies where he's the main character. And I have to tell you, Hellboy in the comics is very different than either of the movie interpretations. So Hellboy by Seed of Destruction is a very even-keeled character. He's very calm and wise almost. Like, he's very secure in himself. And I understand why they wouldn't go with that for the movies, because a character who feels a little too finished isn't necessarily the best protagonist for a movie franchise where you're trying to give yourself room to grow. But the way they do it in these comics, like, you don't need to watch him like grow up into himself the whole time, because the plot is so interesting. And instead of watching him mature like the way adults mature, you're watching his understanding of the world, because he lives in between hell and earth, evolve. And that's a different kind of like character evolution, which is amazing and fascinating. But also the thing that always keeps bringing me back to Hellboy is the art. Always. And if you buy the trade paperbacks, Mike Mignola usually spends a bit of time in the back talking about who his partners are and bringing the art to life, and like why he makes some of the illustration decisions that get made and stuff like that. It's also really interesting if you're into visual storytelling. He's very, very into like limited color palettes. Like think Sin City, but less Hollywood noir and more of like a medieval art meets comics version. But Sin City, where it's like, this page is black and white except red. Or this page is all browns and greens except for this one blue thing that you really need to pay attention to. Like, it's amazing. And there's a lot of like Monster Hunter. There's some Freak of the Week aspects of it that if you don't want to commit yet, you can find single issues that are Hellboy and or the BPRD, the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, like hunting down a Freak of the Week type character. But Seed of Destruction is the one where Rasputin shows up and starts talking to Hellboy about his hellish origins, because early in this novel, he's like, they're like, Hellboy, like, you're comfortable being called Hellboy? And he's like, well, if I ever had a real name, I never knew it. Like, when by halfway through, like, just the Hellboy standalone novels, you find out his name that he was given at birth is actually super important. Like, there's still tons of development, even though you don't see him go from being, like, kind of angry and immature to like a grown-up, wise, more like man character. It's a different kind of character progression in the comics. And now I'm the one who's yapping my head off, jibber jabbering about
No,
something.
it's fine. I mean, listen, we love what we love, and we can't help it sometimes. But I will say this though, Hellboy, My Mignola, the one that you just brought up, also with John Byrne is on there. And Mike Mignola and John Byrne are two of the biggest names in the comic book industry that I've heard across my desk, in the last couple of years. Especially Brian Rodman. I know you're watching this. Brian Rodman is a diehard Mike Mignola fan. Loves everything Mike Mignola has ever touched, whether it's Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, or Hellboy. Because Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, he was cutting his teeth on that. So Brian Rodman, if you're watching this, listen, your boy Hellboy just got represented fairly well.
Wanting to meet Brian Rodman forever. He was at Lexington Toy and Comic Book Expo recently, and I couldn't go to that one because I was in Memphis at a different con when I normally go to LTCE, and I was like, I've probably met Brian and don't know that I met him. So Brian, if you're watching, hi, nice to meet you. Let me know next time you're going to be in like an Indianapolis or Kentucky convention, please.
You should, because Brian Rodman's a great guy. And by the way, if you want some really cool comics, he writes a couple stories. One of them is called Memoirs of an Angel, and it's basically Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist. So if that's your fancy,
I've been meaning to start that one.
Yeah, you might want to sit down and write this down. So even though you already are, but go to brianrodman.com. Check out Memoirs of an Angel. He's also got another series on there that's for adults as well as for kids. It's called The Nebulizer. And he is about to start the Kickstarter for issue number 2 for the Nebulizer. That's coming up. That's going to launch this weekend, I think, or this week, I believe, Brian. I think it's on Friday, or is it next week? I can't remember exactly, and I apologize if I'm missing the date. But I'm on the Facebook page for the Kickstarter, so I might have to send you that. But the Nebulizer is a kid-friendly comic about someone who has to wear a suit. So it's kind of like Bubble Boy meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meets Mad Max. So if you're into that sort of stuff, check out the Nebulizer. And all this stuff can be found simply at brianrodman.com. Now, I'm about to get the trade paperback that consists of issues number 1 through 4 of Memoirs of an Angel. Because as soon as Brian told me the synopsis of Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist, I said, Lord of the Rings I dig. Exorcist maybe not so much. But I see a lot of pictures of characters holding this, which are known as swords. And I'm a big fan of sword fights. So I said, Brian, I'm going to give this a chance. So go to brianrodman.com. You won't be disappointed. Anyway,
I typed it into the comments for everybody. So because there's multiple different spellings of Brian, I was just like,
no, you got it. You're right. Yes, it's brianrodman.com. Check it out. By the way, Catherine chimed in with a comment a little moment ago. She said, this is so awesome. Catherine, a.k.a. Cat the Bot, thank you so much for being here because you're awesome. And never stop being awesome for me, will you?
Yeah, if we ever miss any of your comments, it's just because
we're rolling through this.
Right. We're only human. We appreciate every comment. And we actually spend some time in the green room after every episode I've ever been on with Ryan of anything, going through and making sure we noticed every comment. We check them all.
Even Saturday Morning Comics chimed in here with something regarding the Usagi Yojimbo storyline here. It's under Catherine's comment, if I'm reading this right. He says,
I put this one up on the screen earlier. Yeah.
This is the one that's below Cat. Yeah, that one. Okay, so Saturday Morning Comics just gave us a really cool tip. He says, I recommend getting the first 10-year collection. It's basically an omnibus, but it helps getting familiar with the character. They republish it often. This is regarding Usagi Yojimbo.
Yeah.
So there you go. Sorry, just wanted to bring that up before
we forget.
Before I moved on to the next title. Gee willikers. He also says, goodness gracious, this Saturday Morning Comics, you're on fire with these comments. He says, we'll be covering Space Usagi, a rejected cartoon pilot spinoff next week on Saturday, the 30th at 11 a.m. EST. That's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on our cartoon review show known as Cartoon Commotion, if you're interested. Dude, okay, Cade, I think you said your name was from Backstage. Cade, friend request. Dude, you got to hit me up on Facebook, bro. We got to be friends here. Seriously, hit us up on Facebook because I want to tune into that show. I want to check out some of your content. So send me the links in the DMs on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. But I can't help it. I'm digging what this guy's telling me. Saturday Morning Comics, I can't help it. But anyway, deep breaths, Ryan, deep breaths. Next title, what do we got here? Okay, so this is my second favorite graphic novel of all time, and this is another DC property. Sorry, there may be a little bias here. I am a DC fan. I like both. I like DC and Marvel for different reasons.
Jeff Johns this episode, Ryan.
I know, seriously. I like DC and Marvel.
Next episode, we're not allowed to talk about Jeff Johns.
Probably
I mean, he's
shouldn't.
amazing, but
He's
like,
great.
there's so many talented people in the comic book world. We should
No, you're right.
talk about that a little bit more. Continue.
wanna
I'm
leave.
sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I didn't want to leave this one hanging. But anyway, so this is my second favorite graphic novel of all time. This is a DC property. Okay, so once again, goes back to my love of DC. I can't help it. I'm a DC guy. I like DC and Marvel for different reasons, but DC is my number one. Sorry, not sorry. It's called Flashpoint. Okay, so this is by someone named Jeff Johns. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of him. He's only been around for like the last 100 years. So Jeff Johns and Andy Kubert, if I'm pronouncing that right, thank you. It's called Flashpoint. Now, in Flashpoint, this does take place within DC's The New 52 storylines, if I remember correctly, but also it's a standalone story, so you really don't have to read anything that came before or after this, because this is a standalone story, in my opinion. Flashpoint is a what-if story that takes place in the DC universe where the Flash has the ability to go backwards and forwards in time using the Speed Force. Okay? So the Flash says, well, if I have these powers, why can't I go back in time to save my mother from being murdered? Because his mother was murdered in the origin story of the Flash. And that's a devastating thing. It's a devastating thing to lose a loved one. So the Flash abuses his powers by going back in time and rescuing his mother from being murdered. But because he did that, it causes what is known as a ripple effect in the DC universe. So if you think saving your mom is a good thing, not really, because it messes everything up for everybody in the DC universe. The Flash is in a completely different timeline where things are up that went down. Things that were down went up. Heroes that were well known are no longer around. Some that are dead are now brought back to life. Some of the classic villains, like the Joker, is not the Joker that you think he is. Okay? Which is a big spoiler. I don't want to give anything away here, Crayle. But the Joker in this story, oh my gosh, it was a complete twist that I was so excited to read more of. I wish they could have included it more, but unfortunately they didn't. But still, there are great character building moments between the Flash and the Batman character, and there's just great. Listen, the ripple effects of this storyline are just nuts and crazy because the Atlanteans are at war with the women of Themyscira. So you got Aquaman going up against Wonder Woman's. It's insanity times 1,000. So your favorite heroes are becoming villains. Your favorite villains are starting to become heroes. Which, why is this happening? Well, Barry Allen, you messed up the timeline again. So read Flashpoint. It's a great paperback story. And once again, if I meet the creators of the story, such as Jeff Johns or Andy Kubert or anyone else who was associated with the story in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to have you sign my paperback, and I'm going to fanboy like a crazy person because Flashpoint is a it's a great DC story. Sorry, I just had to tune into my inner Tony the Serial Tiger here for a minute. It's great.
So you're saying it's more than good.
It's so good, it's great. So check out Flashpoint, and I'm loving these comments in the chat. I'm loving this. Oh, gosh. Carl was saying we hope
that my cough gets better. Thank you, Carl. Thank you. No, my voice has cracked a few times too. I'm like, I'm gonna joke around. Apparently, I'm not gonna joke around. Not in that tone of voice, because it's killing me.
So anyway, yeah, that's my Flashpoint. Crayle, did you have another title?
I believe I did. I did.
There's another title.
I had 2 more. I was greedy.
Same here. I think both of us had 5 titles respectively.
Oh, I didn't even count mine. I just like.
I think I had 5.
Yeah.
Which we've covered 3 of them already.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So this one also has some really huge names in it. This is Batman Hush. Mm-hmm. The cover, if you're just tuning into the audio, I'm sorry I forgot to describe the covers for our audio listeners recently. Is half of it is half of the main character is Batman, and half of it is a mysterious figure with bandages on his face. And then you've got Harley Quinn, Huntress, Catwoman, and oh my gosh, who's that guy down in the bottom corner down there, Ryan?
Oh, it's Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee, and Scott Williams.
Yes, so huge writers also.
Big names.
Batman Hush. It's kind of standalone. You need to know who the characters are to understand it. But if you've watched any of the movies or
the animated series,
or just generally not lived under a rock for the last 30 years, like you should be able to keep up even if you haven't read a lot of other Batman comics. Ryan, am I being too mean? Ryan's face palming.
No, it's fine. No, I just love you. I just love your commentaries. I love them. I'm sorry. I'm enjoying these, folks. But yes, this is Batman Hush that we're talking about here, just to be a little bit more specific.
And so Batman, being the amazing detective that he is up against someone who clearly knows him. And like that could be several of his nemesis at this point because he's been in the game for a long time. He's very established as like the Batman and has been for a long time and has like back and forth relationships. Some of the villains have become anti-heroes by this point in time. Like he's got a complicated relationship, and somebody who clearly knows him very well and knows how to get to him is manipulating him. And so even after the mystery gets solved and you find the twist and everything through, a thing happens at the end that I don't want to reveal, but a thing happened that's personal, that isn't, it shouldn't be between like superhero and supervillain. A thing happens between Bruce Wayne and another character where someone says something and all of the manipulation that he just went through comes back to him again, and it leaves you on like a very bittersweet note. Like the mystery is solved, the crime's not going to keep happening, but Bruce Wayne is going to have to live with this forever. It's like a really great novel. Did you have something you wanted to add, Ryan?
Oh no, I was just going to say that I've read this one too. This is one of my first graphic novels I ever read when I went into the comic book stores, and they were suggesting titles to me at the time. And I've been a Batman fan since Tim Burton's 1989 film. I love that movie to pieces. I don't care what the haters say. I love it to pieces because you are number one, the guy. I mean, seriously, gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence. Anyway, so I've been a Batman fan for the longest time. Gee whiz, woman, that cough. Ugh, get rid of that thing. Gosh. Anyway, it's not your fault. Nature happens. So, but Batman Hush is a great story, great standalone, and Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee, the artwork, so good in this book, really good. Honestly, if I could take some of the panels of this book or pages from this book respectively, I'd probably hang them up somewhere on my wall, if not put them in my portfolios that are jam-packed of 11x17 prints, by the way. Just so you know, I am a massive collector of other things besides comics. But yeah, Batman Hush is a good one. It seems to be a theme. We're jumping with Jeff Johns characters, and we're also jumping up with a lot of DC characters. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I at least brought Hellboy in. You brought
well, I got more, but I have brought in the old guard.
Yeah, the old guard. That's the one I was thinking of.
That's
all right,
Image.
I think you. Oh, you have two more titles here. So tell us about this one, everybody. This is a really colorful cover, and
we were just sitting
what the two properties are.
I know. We were just sitting in the backstage area, and I'm thinking this episode's only going to be 45 minutes to an hour. No, we're going way over an hour, but it doesn't matter because we're having too much fun, and we appreciate you.
Oh wait, we have comments. We have comments.
We do. What am I missing here?
He
says, thank you. Yes, I just got your message here, Saturday Morning Comics, a.k.a. Cade. I got your friend request. Don't worry, I'll respond to it a little bit later, I promise. So this title that's on screen, for those of you who are listening to this episode, this is from, I want to say it's Boom Comics? I think it is. So Boom Comics did a crossover that we have been waiting decades and decades and decades for. Now, they attempted to do this in live action on Power Rangers in Space, but a lot of the fans, looking back, hated it. They didn't think it was executed very well. It was done poorly. And my gosh, woman, that cough.
I'm trying to mute, but I can't catch it.
It's okay. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We're just having too much fun over here in the front stage and the backstage area. But this is from Boom Comics, okay? So this is the crossover of all. This is one of the many crossovers of all crossovers, okay? So I grew up on the 90s Fox Kids series known as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, okay? What time is it, ladies and gentlemen? It's Morphin time. That's right. So I grew up watching the Turtle movies and the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger films and the TV series for a long time. And I take Power Rangers from 1993 very personally because it was my favorite childhood show. It was. So they did a crossover between Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's right. You heard me right. MMPR, which stands for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and the TMNTs, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, bring together their forces to take on the ultimate evil, which consists of Rita Repulsa teaming up with the Foot Clan and the Shredder. Yeah, The Shredder brother, yeah. So this is written by, I hope I'm saying your name right, Ryan. Hey, two Ryans. Two Ryans make it right. So my name is Ryan, and the guy who wrote this, his name just happens to be Ryan, but it's Ryan Perot, I want to say. I don't think it's Ryan Parrott. I don't think it's Ryan Parrott. If it is, I apologize, but I'm pronouncing it as Ryan Perot. And Ryan Perot worked together with, I believe it's Simone DeMaio and Walter Belamonte to put this story together. This is I believe it's a 6-issue series. It's in a paperback. It's a standalone story, completely standalone from Boom Comics. Who'd have thought that we would ever get the Power Rangers and the Ninja Turtles in the same story, in the same universe, at the same time? The last time we got something like this was a 1998 season Power Rangers in Space. That wasn't executed very well, unfortunately. But this is where it was executed very, very well. And in the words of our good friends at Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, you have chosen wisely. So if you want to read something that crisscrosses two of the biggest properties in the history of pop culture, treat yourself to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at your local comic book store. It is a fabulous read with very colorful pages featuring incredible characters doing incredible things that we have never seen these characters do in the comics anyway. Just speaking from experience. So I had the pleasure, nay, the privilege of meeting Ryan Perot, the man himself, at Fan Expo Philadelphia a couple weeks ago, Crayle, and I had him sign my copy of this book. And he looked at me and he said, okay, I see these books you have here. I'm going to sign each and every one of them. But this one right here, this is extremely hard to find. Not referring to the TMNT Power Rangers one. He was referring to Saban's Go-Go Power Rangers Volume 1, I believe. That paperback of Volume 1 is very hard to find. He says, you better hold on to this, man. I said, well, I don't intend on giving away any of these books anytime soon. So can you sign these, please? And he signed each and every one of them, and I took a picture with him, too, which you can find on my Instagram feed at RyanRPM5 on Instagram. So that is my next title. I love Power Rangers. I love the Ninja Turtles. Crayle, I'm assuming you may or not have grown up on these properties.
I did, but like not. Okay, so my brother and sister are 4 and 8 years younger than me. And like, so at the time that I was really trying to get into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, it was like, they were like, no, we want to watch Barney. And I'm like, I just watched Barney for like 8 years. I guess this is what I get for doing this to my parents. And we're watching Barney again. And so like I missed a lot of it on TV. So like I get the cultural references, but I could not like remember you the plots, you know?
Yeah, it's all right. When you get a chance, you should add this book to your reading list.
My ever-growing reading list.
Yeah, it's 5,000 miles long, just like mine is.
This show is going to be incredibly expensive for us. We're just going to keep piggybacking off of each other on stuff we have to buy.
And then we'll go to our LCS every other weekend and end up buying everything.
Right, right. Where is my image?
Where is that image?
Right? Like I had.
Where is that image?
Where is my?
By the way, Saturday Morning Comics chimed in with a funny comment. He says, "Massive collection of other things besides comics." Yes, I do collect other things besides comics. He says, "I just collect cosplaying rubber ducks."
And rubber ducks.
You're rubber ducky. Anyone remember the rubber ducky from Sesame Street between Ernie? Remember Ernie?
Oh,
he loved his rubber ducky.
Apparently, I had an incompatible file type in here, and that's why I can't find my last selection. It is Oracle and Black Canary, Birds Prey, which is an opening to like the Birds of Prey comics on their own. That it's mostly just focusing on Oracle and Black Canary for now. Where Oracle has like taken charge and is like, I'm gonna make my own team. Shortly after Barbara Gordon has been, well, not that shortly actually, she's taken a long break after the events of The Killing Joke, where she becomes confined to a wheelchair. And you know, it's really, really great that the writers who invented Oracle went that direction with it, because it was incredibly upsetting to have this Barbara Gordon character join the Bat family, be kicking butt and taking names, and then after she became physically disabled for a long time, the writers were just like, man, we don't know what to do with that character now.
Yep.
That's so unfair. Like,
for sure.
People still have a lot to offer to the world, especially like it kind of made it seem like they just kind of reduced Barbara Gordon down to whether or not she could go out there and ninja kick people. And there was so much more to her than that. And so finally, some writers who were also upset about that were like, no, we're making her be Oracle now. And so she's an eye in the sky intelligence person directing a team of other heroes who still have the physical strength, but need direction. Oh my gosh, they need direction. And she's got experience. She's got the previous experience. And so the funny thing about Oracle in any Oracle heavy Birds of Prey related property or novel is that Oracle likes to assign missions to superheroines where the point of the mission says something about something they're going through in their personal life. It's kind of like how the events of like one of the family shows from like the 90s, how like the thing that's going on at school or at work also has something to do with your home life, only on a superhero level.
So like an episode of Full House.
Right.
Saved by the Bell.
Exactly. There's like a lesson at the end for a lot
Boy
of
Meets
it.
World.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a good one, by the way.
Right. And so
Just saying.
One of the reasons I got started on that so early, and one of the reasons I think other people might benefit to starting with it, is the Arrowverse has been really huge for a while. And one of the things that got me wanting to cosplay with my friends, Mark and Ruby, who cosplay all the time, as part of that little origin story I told us like an hour ago.
An hour ago.
Was I'd been watching the Arrowverse and I was having such mixed feelings about Laurel's character, who was going to become the Black Canary, if you knew anything about Green Arrow, which at the time I didn't. And I was like, I like her, and then I hate her, and then I like her, and then I hate her. And my friend Mark was like, okay, you don't understand. Like, they keep flip-flopping so far back and forth on whether or not this character is actually the Black Canary from the comics. If you're going to dive into comics, I have one for you to start. They will introduce you to the real Laurel Lance, like Dinah Lance, like
Dinah Laurel Lance, yeah.
The whole thing, right?
They kept flip-flopping between that, and then they killed her, and then they brought in her doppelganger from Earth 2, and they called her Black Siren.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, what is that? That is a horrible ripoff of Black. Just bring back the original. Jeez.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, listen.
Nobody else stays dead in the DC universe.
All due respect. Katie Cassidy is one of the most talented actresses in television right now. But I'm telling, listen, Katie. Too. Katie is a great actress. I've known you for a very long time, Katie, but I'm telling you, your Black Siren thing, it just didn't quite mesh for me like your Laurel Lance character did on Earth 1 of the Arrowverse. But you're playing a different character. It's a different Earth. I get it. You're trying to diversify, differentiate your roles, excuse me, but I don't know. Just didn't really do much for it. But listen, Katie, I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors, because you've got an extremely bright future in your acting career, because she was so good on Supernatural too. But anyway, who's this now? Joseph chimes in.
Yeah, he says, I can't believe it that we finally got a Godzilla versus Power Rangers comic this year and not sooner.
Yes, I have issue number 1 by John B. Pica. Speaking of back of the cereal box, hello, John B. Pica. I know you're watching this somewhere. He raves about that, and I bought issue number 1 of my LCS a couple weeks ago, so I haven't read it yet, John, but it's on my list, because Godzilla versus Power Rangers, I mean, come on. Kaiju versus Power, like, that's a no-brainer. That's a very good comment, by the way. What's her name? Joseph Foe, I believe is how you pronounce your last name. I hope I'm saying that right. Joseph, great stuff.
I've met Joseph in person a couple of times. I still don't know how to pronounce his last name. Yeah,
how is he in person? Is he a cool dude?
Yeah, he's a cool dude. Is
he cool in person?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Joseph, if I ever see you at a Comic-Con, say hi to me, will you? But
also, tell us how to pronounce your last name next time you see either one of us.
But Joseph, which we can say correctly. Joseph. Yeah, I need to read that Godzilla versus Power Rangers, because it's sitting on my shelf right now. I just haven't read it yet, Crayle. It's so depressing. Haven't read it yet. Sell out your LCS, says David McDonald. I wonder who David McDonald is.
I don't know, but he sounds really good looking.
I do. Oh, gosh almighty. A little behind the scenes trivia for you here, folks. Anyway, isn't there another title? I think there is.
There is one more.
Well, they're called Tubs, if you're still interested. Sorry, I don't collect rubber duckies.
Rubber ducks. Yep.
Rubber ducky. Sorry, that's my Muppets voice.
Barbara Gordon is a long-distance therapist.
Ooh, Saturday Morning Comics with a comeback. Okay, I like that comment. That's a good one.
Can't beat an original. I've heard that in a theme song somewhere before. emoji, and then laughing emoji.
Hmm.
Oh, that's going to be stuck in my head the rest of the night now.
Oh, by the way, Saturday Morning Comics says that Zilla versus Rangers looks fun. Listen, the cover looks pretty good. The artwork looks decent. I got to read it first because I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
What's the other image here? I think we have another one sitting in the backstage area
We have
somewhere.
one more.
Oh gosh, I'm telling you, we've had way too much fun on this show tonight, folks. And if you haven't shared this video with all 800 of your closest friends already, do yourself a favor. Make sure you smash that like button and smash the subscribe button too, so you're notified when new videos go up. But anywho, so listen, I wanted to switch things up here. I've talked about DC, I've talked about Image, I've talked about Boom. I'm trying to go through other distributors because the world is a lot bigger than just Marvel and DC, folks. It's a lot bigger than you think. So this one is from Dynamite. This is from Dynamite Comics, and this is called The Shadow. The Death of Margot Lane by Matt Wagner and company. So the Shadow is an old school pulp character that goes all the way back to the 30s. Okay? This character has been around for decades and decades and decades and decades, and Crayle, decades. Okay? So this is set in those times. It's set in the 40s, I believe, but it's released. This book came out some years ago because it's from Dynamite Comics, so it's a bit of a modern day cover, but it's still set in the old school time period of the Shadow's original time frame, which I believe is the 40s, if I'm not mistaken. So the Shadow, the Death of Margot Lane. You're probably thinking, well, he just gave away the whole thing because it's in the title, right? Well, you know how a wise person, Crayle, once said that appearances can be deceiving, and don't judge the book by the cover. Well, this goes hand in hand with that because the Shadow is investigating a series of weird events that have been going on, and his love interest is indeed named Margot Lane. But Margot Lane, does she die? Maybe, maybe not. I don't want to give away too much in the realm of spoilers, but let me just point it to you this way. If you want an old school pulp style type story, The Shadow, The Death of Margot Lane is the one for you, because as the Shadow says, these are some of his trademark catchphrases go way back to the beginning of his time. The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows. Ha 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 ha. So you want an old school character? Treat yourself to The Shadow, The Death of Margot Lane by Matt Wagner from Dynamite Comics. That is a standalone story. It is a trade paperback that you can find in your local comic store. You know who exposed me to this one, Crayle?
Who? Tell me who.
It wasn't Third Eye Comics in Annapolis. It was Famous Faces and Funnies, which is located in West Melbourne, Florida. And they host a series of Facebook Live sales during the week. And some of those sales include paperback and graphic novel sale. So check them out on Facebook at FFF Comics on all forms of social media. Follow them on Facebook. They do the Facebook Live sales, and they do them 5 times a week. 5 times a week. You get multiple opportunities to buy comics, collectibles, Funko Pops, toys, action figures. What do you call those things, Crayle? Funko Pop T-shirts, all kinds of stuff. So check them out. They recommended this to me. They hooked me up with 3 Shadow graphic novels, and this is my favorite one of the bunch. So it's called The Shadow, The Death of Margot Lane by Matt Wagner and company. Check it out, and you won't be disappointed because if you're reading comics, if you're brand new to reading comics, you want to learn more about some of the old school pulp heroes, old school characters of comics that have been around for so many decades. We got gray hairs growing in here. The Shadow, The Death of Margot Lane is certainly a great place to start for old school fans, or if you're a fan of old school type properties, or you just want to learn your history. It's very good. So check that out. Crayle, I think I said one too many words, and I feel like we've gotten a boatload of comments. What else is going on in the comments section tonight?
It's probably just people saying, "Oh my gosh, Ryan, please keep talking. Stop apologizing for jibber jabbering at us."
Saturday Morning Comics is on fire. He says this cover makes me want to read the old school stuff, which in reference to The Shadow, The Death of Margot Lane, I'm impressionable that way. Noirish stuff intrigues me sometimes. Yes, this is a noir type story. The Shadow, The Death of Margot Lane is a noir type story. Yes, so please, by all means, check it out, because in the words of Chuck Finley, aka Bruce Campbell from Ash vs. Evil Dead, you won't be disappointed. So, Crayle, I've said a lot of words tonight, and I think you have expressed some words yourself. So,
1 or 2.
Deep breaths, people. Oh, look at this. Can you describe to the audio listeners what exactly this image is that is on the Titantron right now?
So we're eventually going to talk about some of our like what's new, what did we buy recently stuff.
Oh
But
yes.
I'm starting us off in this pilot episode here with a
Ladies
picture
first.
of my entire bookshelf. So my comic books had been packed up for 7 or 8 years.
Mm.
So my husband and my father-in-law built me these gigantic bookshelves. Like I've got 2 shirt boxes on the bottom shelf and then still some giant like compendiums, like the history of Wonder Woman and stuff on the bottom, and just tons of room for books. All of my comic books feel new to me again because I can see them and line them up and be like, oh yeah, I always meant to reread this one, or oh yeah, I read the first volume of this series and then could only find volume 3 and couldn't find volume 2. I'm going to go look for volume 2 again. So yeah, I just, having a way to like display your books where you can see them and stuff, especially if you're ADHD like me and, out of sight, out of mind is like literally true for you. Like, have someone build you a bookshelf or, order a bookshelf or something like.
Buy a lot of short or long boxes, why don't you?
Yeah, right? So
Which your local comic shops have plenty of those, by the way.
they do. I have a Dark Phoenix one and a Hellboy one right there.
Ooh, good picks. Good picks.
Oh, yeah. All right. And then my other recent purchases, if I can find the image.
I do like the image of your bookshelf, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I had to put a bunch of stuffed animals on there because it felt empty. And I was going to comic book stores and buying stuff just to fill it up. And then I was like, I'm going to go broke if I do this. So I bought some later Birds of Prey stuff. Some later JSA stuff, because like I was saying, now that I could see them, I'm like, I totally remember now that I wanted to keep reading these. And then my husband really liked The Expanse on Amazon Prime, I think is where he watched it, and wanted to get into the comics. So I was nice and bought that for him as a little treat. I'll probably end up reading it too, eventually, when I get to it. Eventually, like Amanda Bynes on The Amanda Show.
Oh man, that's a throwback. Yeah, I see you got some Birds of Prey, JSA, and also The Expanse was listed on there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, which I hear is a big, big sci-fi show amongst the sci-fi fans out there. So, goodness gracious, wow. So that's some of the latest stuff that you have received. I wonder what I got. Oh yeah, here we go. So Clyde Hall, Jodie McPhee, Ted Davies, Glenn B. Fleming, Brian K. Morris, Brian Rodman, all you folks who love these characters oh so much, and you know a heck of a lot more than I do because I'm not that smart. I bought these at my LCS this past weekend. Carl Witzman says I have to go now, but I got some screenshots that I have to work on. Carl,
thanks, Carl. Good night.
Carl, we love you, man. Take it easy on yourself, by the way. Get some rest. You deserve it at your age. So here's the deal. I went to my LCS. They were having a massive holiday weekend sale. For those of you who celebrate the holiday that occurred this past weekend, we hope you enjoyed it. So I got some what-if stories from Marvel Comics, and I also got comics featuring this character, Werewolf by Night. I've heard a lot about this character through certain sources of mine, Clyde Hall, and who else is a big fan of this character? It's Clyde Hall. I think, did Jodie McPhee bring this up, or Eric Hawkins? It's some of those guys on Comic Spectrum. Or you know what? Do yourself a favor. Go to the Rising Tide Broadcast Network on Facebook, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So Werewolf by Night, I got issues 10, 11, and 19. The what-if stories are standalone stories. So this one is, what if the Hulk became a barbarian, like Conan the Barbarian? So I'm very intrigued. And by the way, there's a Toys R Us logo at the top of that issue. So that kind of gives me some nostalgia, Crayle, because everyone remembers Toys R Us, right? So there's another what-if story. It's a twofer. It features Dazzler and Iron Man. Now, the one I'm more intrigued with is, what if Iron Man was trapped in the time of King Arthur? What if he was trapped? So those are the two standalone what-if stories. And then Werewolf by Night is part of a series, but I got issues 10, 11, and 19 that I found in my LCS that I managed to find. Excuse me. And you know what I like about these comics? We always say this on the show, Crayle, but it's very hard to do this. It's very hard to not judge a book by the cover, because a lot of comic books that you and I, and maybe even you who are watching or listening to this, have come across, the comic book covers are so good. I don't even care what the story, I don't even care what the story is. I don't even care who wrote it. I don't care who did the art. I don't even care. I just like the cover. Does anyone ever, this is a question.
Judge a book by its cover
I know we
matter for comic books. Chime in, people.
We shouldn't do it, but we do it anyway. But I got to ask you this. I got to ask you, who's watching and listening to this: do you buy comics just based on the cover, or do you buy them because of the cover and the story? I would very much like to hear how you feel about collecting comics just because of the cover. If anyone collects comic books simply because of the cover, I want to hear your thoughts on this matter. Because I got to be honest with you, every time I go into my local comic shop and I see all these different comics featuring different characters of different properties and different distributors, I might add, I'm blown away by the covers, Crayle. I'm blown away by I can't help myself. The covers are just so magical. You know what I mean? I mean, look at this. That is freaking Liberty Bell. That I never even heard of this character, but yet I'm looking at that picture of her, which, by the way, we're referring to the Justice Society of America. And I just want to read more about that character because it's like, I like the cover and I like Liberty Bell clearly looks like a badass. So I want to read more about this character. So I would go to Crayle and say, hey, Crayle, where's a good place to start about reading about Liberty Bell? And then she would text me or she would message me or she would tell me verbally, Ryan, this is what you need to do, blah, 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 blah. And then I would either write it down, which I never do, and I would just text you later and be like, hey, girl, can you text me some of those titles about Liberty Bell? Sorry, not like Ryan Gosling because Crayle is off the market, folks. She's off the market. But anyway, sorry, didn't mean to go into someone's personal life, Crayle, but just wanted to state some facts. Just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. So those are some of the comics. There's another image there in the backstage area there, Crayle. Do you have that one that I sent you? It was two of them that were in the blue covering.
In here somewhere.
They're somewhere. And by the way, Saturday Morning Comics says, nice bookshelves from Crayle. Comics are featured on the floor for you, Crayle. And then he says, Amanda's show. I loved that growing up back in the day. And then,
okay, so this comics on the floor comment, like, I have swept over there super recently, and the only time I ever go over there is in my bare feet. I don't track stuff. Like, those are built in my little inner sanctum where I am, like, the only person who goes back there. It's also by my desk where I do, like, my fiction editing as my job. So, like, the floor doesn't get a bunch of dirt and stuff tracked on it back there. Like, and it's a nice, like, solid background because it's that dark stone. Like, don't judge me. I'm very careful with my comic books, okay?
That's a very good point. It's a very good point. Lovely comments, by the way, folks. So yeah, this next image we have here on screen is some of my more pickups. Yes, beautiful classic covers, I know, right? So, bless you, woman, with that cough. Gosh, Crayle. It's okay, but geez, get rid of the cough. I'm sorry, we're having too much fun here in front of the cameras. But anyway, these are some of the most recent pickups that I got from my LCS. Now, this is a Marvel's Visionary Jack Kirby. So basically, this contains some of the stories that Jack Kirby wrote back in his time when he wrote for Marvel Comics, featuring Captain America, the Fantastic Four, the Incredible Hulk, and among other main characters. Then the second one in the center of this is from, I believe it's Marvel, and this is Blood Ties, featuring Star Wars character Boba Fett, which, by the way, Boba Fett's kind of a big deal right now with the book of Boba Fett that just dropped on Disney+. Hashtag Star Wars is awesome. And this is from the Legends timeline, so this takes place out of the canon, but it's Boba Fett Blood Ties, and it's a bunch of stories, but they're all standalone. So I figure, hey, I never bought a Star Wars Legends title before. Why not go with Boba Fett? Boba Fett's a cool character right now, so I figured, what the hey. And then the third one is Spider-Man by Todd McFarlane. By the way, Crayle, this is my first ever omnibus. Spider-Man. This is the first omnibus I ever bought in my entire life. And this is a Marvel omnibus featuring Spider-Man, written specifically by Todd McFarlane, who did a big run of him back in the day. And this has all 16 issues of this storyline in one book. Now, I know that may sound like a lot because I looked at the omnibus and I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of big, but not really. So it's not going to really take me that long to get through this, I don't think. I mean, it's 16 issues, Crayle. That's not necessarily the biggest number we've heard, but it's a complete storyline. So I figured, what the hey, I'll take it. So there you go. Spider-Man by Todd McFarlane, Boba Fett, Star Wars, Blood Ties, Legends. And then you got Marvel Visionaries. Basically, those are, Marvel puts out like best of for certain writers and creators of Marvel. And Jack Kirby just happens to be the king of comics for a reason. So no worries on the floor there. Ornaments, Crayle. I was just kidding around. Okay, thank you, Saturday Morning Comics, for clarifying because Crayle is feeling so much better now. Her cough is now gone.
I wish.
But anyway, I wish, Ryan, I wish. But still. So those are some of my latest pickups. I am very proud of them. I am very excited to jump into these things and read these. Because, by the way, if you're not familiar with a man by the name of Glenn B. Fleming, Crayle, Glenn B. Fleming just wrapped up an Indiegogo campaign featuring his time that he spent with Jack Kirby back in the day. He sat down with Jack Kirby and interviewed him. He talked with him. And he taped these conversations and he wrote about him in a book. So it's a book that comes with a complimentary DVD on Indiegogo, which I believe is still in demand on Indiegogo right now, Crayle. So you may be able to still get yourself a copy. So buy the book in DVD and visit Glenn B. Fleming on Amazon. Check out his works. Check out his books. He sat down with the king of comics himself, Jack freaking Kirby. Now listen, Jack Kirby was way before Crayle and I's time, way before our time. But I'm curious as to what contributions he made to the comic book community. He is one of the biggest, if not the biggest name in comics. So I am looking forward to reading Glenn B. Fleming's book and watching his documentary DVD that shows us who this man was as a person and who he was as a comic book writer, artist, creator, what have you. So if you've never heard the name Jack Kirby, visit Glenn B. Fleming's Indiegogo campaign. It's in demand. Just type in the name Jack Kirby in the search bar on Indiegogo.com. And you'll find his project that is in demand right now. And you should treat yourself to the book and complimentary DVD, Crayle. And this goes for you who's watching or listening to this right now. I am so excited to learn more about these creators and writers and artists that I have never heard of or just never read anything from them before, because that is the beauty of comics. Yes, Jack the King Kirby. I'm sure Glenn B. Fleming would more than agree with you on that. I'm just saying. So, fascinating. Jack Kirby on Indiegogo, that's cool. Yes, so look up Glenn B. Fleming, type in the name Jack Kirby on the search bar on Indiegogo.com. So Crayle, I'm telling you, this is the beauty of comic books in general, and this is the beauty of this show. Comic books, the new class. Listen, we're young bucks. We're very young. We're babies compared to a lot of people on the internet right now, Crayle. You and I are babies. We're the Rugrats, okay? We're the Tommy Pickles. We're the Chucks. We're the Phils and the Lils. We're the Angelicas. We're the Hey Arnolds of this community. But that doesn't mean we can't succeed. That doesn't mean we still can't go out to the shops and go out to the Comic Cons and read and buy this stuff and respect the properties that these things are. Because, listen, I know I'm saying a lot here, and I'm sorry, but just the point I'm trying to make here, Crayle, is that I am very grateful for this show because we get to share the things that we've learned up to this point with you. And hopefully you who is watching this, you who are listening to this very program, which is called Comic Books the New Class, hosted by yours truly, Ryan and Crayle, you're getting something out of this. That is our biggest goal with this show. We want you to enjoy it, but we also want you to get something out of it. This is a learning experience for everybody, including myself. Let me tell you something. I'm not wearing this shirt just because someone paid me $500,000 to do it. No, they didn't pay me.
If I had $500,000 to pay you,
no, they didn't. No,
to wear a
I'm
shirt.
doing this. No. I'm doing this because I want to, and I'm doing it on my own free will. But listen, I think Crayle and I are trying to say here is that we hope you enjoyed this debut episode of Comic Books the New Class, hosted by Crayle, Vanest, and Ryan Permison here on the show. Because I don't know about you, Crayle, but I've had a lot of fun tonight, and I think the people in the comment section who are still chatting away back here are enjoying themselves, and I've learned some new things from them as well. So the next time I go to my shop, I need to learn more about Liberty Bell. I need to learn more about the JSA. I need to learn more about Usagi Yojimbo, and plus I like swordplay, so there's nothing wrong with that. What's this now? He is saying many 90s Nick references are being thrown down here in the hatch. Look out, folks. Viacom might be prowling around and looking to take if it happens.
It happened to us at Saturday Morning Comics. He says,
but then he says, "JK, you're safe."
Okay, thank you. I'm like, how could they for referencing that their show exists?
No, they can't.
That doesn't seem right.
It's called freedom of speech, folks.
I'm tired. You could tell me right now, like, yeah, there's a dragon on the couch behind you. Oh wait. Yeah. Oh wait, but actually,
is somebody sitting behind the scenes on the couch here? Who's this?
My friend Cindy Kep made this.
Oh my gosh.
KOE.
Go to CKOEPP.com for more information on Cindy Kep.
Yeah.
Is that a dragon?
Didn't even mean to do that. I was trying to be sarcastic. Like, oh, there's a. I'm so tired. If you told me there was a dragon on my couch, I'd believe you. And then I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, it is a dragon.
It is a dragon.
Does the dragon have a name?
We've been. Actually, the Cosplay Cafe viewers and I have been workshopping names for a little bit, and my friend Derek had some really great ideas, but I don't want to reveal it until I have fully solidified it. If you have a suggestion for a name for my dragon and you think you can beat what my friend Derek came up, drop it in the comments, because this has been a topic of conversation for a little while now.
Naming someone's dragon. If you want to get one of your own dragons, go to CKOEPP.com and hashtag always support your friends. Cindy Kep is a sci-fi fantasy writer.
He rides on my back too.
Oh,
he has straps, and his head sits here, and his tail wraps around my hip.
Really?
Uh-huh.
You're gonna have to show us some pictures one day. But anyway, enough about that. Listen, Crayle, I think we've entertain the masses enough here. Goodness gracious, I didn't know this pilot episode rather, would be this long. But he says there's a leprechaun on my couch though. Is that anyone? Okay, well, hey, I'm the leprechaun. Anyway, didn't they make like 50 leprechaun movies back in the 80s or something? I don't know. If
80s
someone
and
wants to
the
chime
early
in with
90s,
that,
I feel like, I don't know. There was like a leprechaun who plays basketball.
yeah, does anyone know the extension of that? But anyway, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to each and every one of you who tuned into Comic Books, the New Class. This is going to be, I believe we're going to set this up to be a monthly show for the moment. So this is going to be once a month, right, Crayle?
Third Tuesday of the month for now.
Okay, so third Tuesday of every month or once a month, this is going to be a show. So I hope you click the like button, comment down below, make sure you share this video with all 800 or 900 of your closest friends, and subscribe because you'll be notified of when new stuff goes up on the channel. But Crayle, I don't know about you, but did you enjoy this first pilot episode, and would you be willing to come back again and deal with my crazy tangents and crazy speeches?
I mean, as long as you'll tolerate mine, like next time we'll have to talk about my volume of the DC Universe by Mike Mignola, and you'll just have to sit there and listen until I'm done.
That's true. I did take the liberty of reading Batman Gotham by Gaslight, which Mike Mignola contributed to during the early stages of his career. So Mike Mignola, I like one of your stories, dude. It's cool. I just haven't read any of the Hellboy stuff yet. Sorry. No offense. But yeah, so Crayle, where can the person watching or listening to this find you online and everything you have coming up? Where can they find you?
So down there on the screen next to my name, it says Phoenix Sisters. That's because I'm one half of Phoenix Sisters Cosplay. And we have a link tree that has links to my cosplay partner's novel that she wrote. She's coming out with a sequel soon. I make Pokeball dioramas, and like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but they're really good. If you're a Pokemon fan, like, you should get one. And then all of our cosplay stuff and all of our other shows, you heard us mention Cosplay Cafe on this show a few times. It's all at my link tree, our link tree, linktree.com/Phoenix, PHOENIX, sis, SIS, cosplay, COSPLAY, linktree.com/Phoenix sis cosplay. You'll find all that content there. Ryan, where all can we find you? I'm asking for our viewers because I've been stalking you online for a long time now.
It didn't sound creepy at all on the interwebs.
Darn,
but anyway, listen, we mean it in the nicest way possible, ladies and gentlemen. So here's what you can do. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5, or if you go to my link tree, which is found on my Twitter and Instagram profile, that's where you can find all the shows that I've been doing, all my projects that I have that's going on right now. Some of them are still in development, so I can't announce everything just yet. But
top secret.
Some new things are coming. Some merchandise is on the way, so you'll be able to buy some And I Quote, which is, by the way, And I Quote is a show I host every Saturday at 12 p.m. EST, where I interview content creators of all shapes and sizes that join us from any and all corners of the nerd universe. And Cade, Saturday Morning Comics, you and I are going to have a conversation, buddy, because I may need to have you on my show because you sound like a ridiculously awesome-tacular nerd that just belongs on set. So I'll give credit where credit is due. Yes, Joseph says thank you for the show. No, thank you
for watching, Joseph.
Thank you for making us a part of your Tuesday evening. For those of you who may be on the East Coast and it's still nighttime. For those of you on different time zones, I'll let you decide what time of day it is. Let me see. I have owned this live chat. The live chat does belong to me, says Saturday Morning Comics. You're probably right. But even so, And I Quote is Saturdays, 12 p.m. EST. Links to that are in my link tree on my Twitter and Instagram feed. But just find me simply at RyanRPM5. The number 5 is at the end of that. So it's all one word, at RyanRPM5. That's where you can find me. And thank you so much for having me, Crayle. I think to be honest with you, and this movie celebrates its 80th birthday later this year. So in the words of that great movie that turns 80 this year, Crayle, for this show, Comic Books, the New Class, and everyone who has joined us, whether you are listening to this episode or if you're watching this episode, I have a feeling this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
No, like, thank you, Ryan, so much for bringing this idea to me and getting the ball rolling, and then like getting so much of the prep done while I was sick. I was sick forever, folks. Like,
and you still are, unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
this cough will just not bloody go away.
we would not have had this great conversation we just had if Ryan had not done a lot of heavy lifting while I was sick. So
behind the scenes, yes. But the comments are just as important. So thanks to everyone who tuned in, because we do this show for you, and we can't do it without you.
I mean, why would we? If Ryan and I just wanted to chat, like,
we could just do a private video chat on Zoom. Yeah, we can do a video chat on Zoom. By the way, hashtag support indie creators of all shapes and sizes. And by the way, hashtag support your local comic shops, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'll end you with right there. Boom, done.
Oh yeah. We're going to be talking next week.
Next week? Are
Next
we coming
month.
back?
Nope. No. Next month, we're going to be talking some about getting over any anxiety or intimidation you have about finding the exact comic book to start with. We talked about ourselves a lot. We're self-centered like that this episode. Next month, unless we get off track because you're all so amazing talking to us in the comments there, we're going to be talking about actually making that selection for the first time. We dabbled in it a little bit this show. We're going to hit it a lot harder next month. So come back and see us, y'all.